Hello, Dave Soriano here. I'm a chemistry professor in Western Pennsylvania and a lifelong student of the JFK assassination. A student, strictly an amateur. The thought occurred to me, however, to give perhaps some consideration to the southeastern window, the sniper's nest window, 6th floor Texas Book Depository. I became very curious about the methodology used by the potential sniper, indeed if there was a shot or shots fired from that window. So I have a short presentation here just for purposes of initiating discussion. Texas Book Depository, 6th floor, southeastern window. What's my point of this? Well, I've simulated the shot or shots possibly fired from the 6th floor window, the so-called sniper's nest, using JFK reloaded simulation software. Using the software not as a video game, but as a way to really gauge the potential positions for firing shots at JFK from that window. I became aware in my studies that a potential shot or shots as the JFK limousine turned from Houston Street onto Elm Street, heading of course west, was a high percentage shot kill zone. Now I'm looking at this strictly as an amateur, not any type of professionally trained sniper, but it seemed to me that at that critical point there was no tree in the way, no obstructions, no bad angles. Why didn't a shot or shots occur right then and there from that window? Now, there were two potential problems for the sniper to consider. Would there be a problem with solar glare, which would preclude a shot or shots at that turn onto Elm Street? Glare, for example, which would be from the crossbar perhaps on JFK's open limousine. On that late fall day in November of 1963, there was also significant wind velocity. Jackie was reported to have almost lost her pillbox hat in the wind. And important for our discussion here, pertinent to our discussion, there was full sun, which was south and directly overhead on that late fall day. The sniper selection. Oswald, if indeed he was the shooter, has been described as a rather mediocre marksman. For example, the KGB agent who was hunting with him in Russia said that he was an absolutely terrible shot hunting with a shotgun. Now, the boxes in the sniper's nest were arranged for a shot or shots to be taken with the target moving away from the shooter. We must take into consideration that the boxes were reportedly rearranged by law enforcement. I refer to Harold Weisberg, the author Weisberg on this matter, that the boxes were reportedly rearranged by law enforcement after the shooting. If we assume the boxes were not significantly arranged, then the sniper had to have been at that window at some point giving consideration to how to carry out the assassination. The sniper, therefore, must have considered the best possible percentage shots to be taken, if indeed Oswald, whoever the potential shooter was, had time for such consideration. The target. If Oswald was the shooter, he would have fired with the target, JFK, moving away from him. Most hunters would agree that this is the best percentage shot, particularly for a novice. A professional sniper at that window may very well have elected to fire from that turn onto Elm. I know in my simulations I believe there was a much greater chance of success literally firing at point-blank range with no tree, no bad angle. The limo is almost coming to a dead stop for the 120-degree turn. So was solar glare a potential problem on that day? To try to get a quick and dirty, for purposes of discussion, to try and answer this question, I actually went to the 6th floor live cam at around noon today. Now this is December 12th, 2012. So I went to the cam at around noon Central Standard Time to check for glare on vehicles driving on Houston, just to get a rough idea as to what may be the problem. Let's take a look at this. Now we're looking right onto Houston. And this is live cam.
This is the important part right here. We're looking on Houston. And it would be about noon right now, Central Time in Dallas. And we're a couple of weeks past the Dealey Plaza assassination of JFK.
Cars are moving north.
10th. The sun would be south. It's a sunny day. I'm seeing glare over on cars on Main Street. But here,
right where the turn is,
with cars heading south, I've not seen any glare. In other words, when the motorcade was coming up the street turning onto Elm, heading west, see? I don't see any glare at all from this position. The question becomes, why, if there was a shot or shots from the 6th window, the southeastern window, the sniper's nest window, why the shot or shots were not fired as the motorcade, as JFK's limo turned from Houston onto Elm? I've simulated this. There was a greater chance of success with the shots versus a shot or shots through the tree, potentially impeding success. Of course, if it was Oswald, he may, not exactly the best marksman in the world, may have realized this because the boxes were positioned for shots at the target, JFK, moving away. And anyone who hunts knows that it's a little easier shot with the target moving away.
So, I don't think glare was a serious impediment. The cam footage would suggest that solar glare on the JFK car as it turned would not have been a problem. Now, the ideal thing would be to place such a limo right at that turn, a dead stop on high noon, full sun, late fall time of year. I do think, as a follow-up, it should be given consideration on-site testing. Now, if Oswald was the shooter, he elected to fire shot or shots at JFK, the target, moving away, therefore taking his chances with the tree in front of the building. There was also that traffic light, and that was a potential problem in blocking the view through the scope. At this point in time, I really intuitively believe a professional sniper would have fired as the vehicle turned onto Elm Street. Now, of course, shot or shots may have been fired from the southwesterly window of the Texas Book Depository. And Roland, an eyewitness on Houston Street, said he saw two people walking around on the 6th floor minutes before the motorcade. And of course, there may have been shots from the 2nd or 3rd floor of the Dal-Tex Building, which is another consideration. Conclusion. The solar glare variable has not been given really any consideration in the events that transpired about a half a century ago. It should be given more consideration by professionally trained snipers analyzing that situation, and perhaps the History Channel would want to carry out simulations, they've done this in the past, from the western 6th floor window and the Dal-Tex Building on a full sunny day at noon in the late fall. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope I can at least generate some ideas here. If you need to get a hold of me, here's the contact information. Take care.